Monsieur le Président du Sénat, Monsieur le Premier ministre,
Mr. President of the Senate, Mr. Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen,
Monsieur le Président
ministers,
de l'Association des maires de France, cher François Barouin,
the President of the Association of Mayors of France, Mr. François Barouin, Mr. Vice President,
Madame la maire de Paris,
the Mayor of Paris,
mes villes lumières,
a martyred city, but still the City of Light. We stand with you. Ladies and gentlemen, mayors of
c'est la
France,
France qui est rassemblée, soudée dans l'épreuve,
through you, it is all of France that is here in this room, united
être capable de faire
in these trying times,
circonstances. Elles sont aujourd'hui exceptionnelles.
capable of facing these difficulties which are exceptional. As I speak to you now,
Policière particulièrement
a police operation,
et lourde vient de s'achever.
a particularly dangerous operation, has just been
Elle visait à
completed.
neutraliser cette nuit
It aimed at
les
neutralizing
terroristes logés à Saint-Denis qui sont en
this
lien
morning
avec les auteurs des attentats et des crimes odieux.
the terrorists linked to the attacks and horrible crimes of Friday night.
Et il y a eu des interpellations.
2 terrorists died in the raid and arrests have been made.
J'imagine l'angoisse qui a saisi au petit matin.
Now, I can imagine the anxiety, the terror
Et je
of the residents
salue,
of the neighborhood in Saint-Denis,
leur sang-froid.
and I thank them for remaining calm.
À l'égard du maire.
I would also like to express my solidarity with the mayor of Saint-Denis, who has already experienced the attack on the stadium
Qui, une fois encore,
on Friday night.
était là. Auprès des forces
Once again, he was present
a été donné.
alongside the police forces
Je veux
when the raid was launched.
exprimer toute notre gratitude
I would also like to express all of our gratitude
à l'égard des
and
forces de
admiration
l'ordre, des
to the
policiers
police forces
qui ont lancé l'opération.
who
Ils
launched this
connaissaient le
raid.
danger. Ils
They knew it'd be
sous-estimaient
dangerous.
encore la violence qu'ils allaient rencontrer. Et ils ont été
They
justes.
probably didn't imagine the incredible violence of the response,
Plusieurs ont été blessés.
and they completed their mission. Several have been
Et
injured.
je pense aussi à ces policiers, les mêmes et d'autres,
A thought has also struck me.
qui sont allés au Bataclan
We need
dans des conditions terrifiantes pour aller chercher les terroristes.
to remember that the police who went into the Bataclan on Friday
Mesdames et messieurs les maires,
under terrible conditions to seek out the terrorists and stop them.
de disposer
Ladies and gentlemen, mayors of France, France is proud
de qualité
to have
pour protéger nos
such
concitoyens.
a quality police force to protect our citizens.
Ces actions nous confirment une fois encore que nous sommes
These actions confirm yet again that we are at war,
contre un terrorisme qui lui-même
a war against
a
terrorism,
décidé de nous mener la guerre. C'est l'organisation
which has decided to wage war on us.
Elle
The
dispose
jihadist
d'une armée,
organization, the so-called Islamic State, has an
de
army.
ressources financières, pétrolières.
It has financial resources, oil resources,
Elle a des complicités
and occupies a territory. It has accomplices in Europe
avec des jeunes islamistes
and in our own country, including young radicalized Islamists.
et veut tuer
They commit massacres there, and they want to kill people here, and they have killed people here.
du 13 novembre. Au moins 129
The
personnes
evening of November the 13th,
la vie. Nous pensons à elles,
129 people
femmes, à ces
lost their
hommes qui ont
lives.
été
We have a special thought for them,
assassinés, blessés.
those people who were
Nous pensons
cowardly
à leurs familles
assassinated.
plongées dans un d'indicibles chagrins.
We think of their families,
Ces attentats
we think of their
ont
sorrow.
ensanglanté Paris et Saint-Denis. Mais il concerne
These attacks caused bloodshed in Paris and Saint-Denis, but all people in France are concerned, no matter where they live in France. It's the entire country which is under attack for what we represent, for our values, for our battles to fight terrorism. We were simply attacked for who we are. What the terrorists were attacking was the idea itself of France, of what France represents. Through the generations, we represent liberty, freedom, and universal rights, human rights that we defend. That is what they attacked. That 13th of November, because these barbarians, in their blind violence, are targeting the diversity of the French people, no matter their origin, or their background, their color, or their religion. It's the youth of France who were the target, because they represent vitality, generosity, freedom, and quite simply, life. So our emotions are running high, our anger is running strong. All of us feel a terrible, terrible compassion for all of the victims. And at the same time, we demand action. Action to put these perpetrators and their commanders out of business, out of commission. The aims of the terrorists are to plunge our country into terror and division. We must therefore be very careful. Careful to protect in every town of France the unity which is our strength. We must keep cool heads. That is part of our dignity as well. You are elected officials of the Republic. You represent the great diversity of all our territories and the many sensitivities of our people. But faced with this terrorist threat, there is no difference. There are no differences amongst us, between us and our territories. There is no political cleavage. It is just men and women serving the people, elected to represent them, aware of your duties. I know that you will do your utmost to perform your tasks. On Monday, before the Congress of Parliament, I spoke to them about our response to these attacks by this terrorist group. First of all, we have international plans. We have increased our airstrikes in Syria. We have sent out our ships. And I've called on the international community to work hand in hand with us to eliminate Islamic State. Next Tuesday, I will be speaking with Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin. I will be speaking with them to exhort coordinated action, to work together decisively and quickly to reach our goals. We must put together a broad coalition to strike down Islamic State, because it is this organization that is guilty, and we must do this here in the spirit of unity in the international community. I know we don't have the same ideas, the same concepts, the same allies. But what is at stake here is to put a halt to the advance of this army, an army that threatens the entire world, and not just a few countries.
Cette mission, je la mènerai, et la France
And so our mission,
aura par son armée
France will lead this mission with our military forces, and we will play a major role in resolving this conflict on the military side and also on the diplomatic side.
Au niveau de notre pays, j'ai décidé
in France, I've decided
drame de la tragédie, le rétablissement du contrôle aux frontières.
Since the
Dans le respect d'ailleurs
evening of the Friday attacks,
nos engagements,
to increase controls on our borders.
j'ai décrété l'état d'urgence.
We will also increase our European commitments, and I've declared a state of emergency throughout France.
Au département d'outre-mer pour que
The Prime Minister has asked that we extend this to our overseas territories.
un projet de loi
Everywhere that there is a threat to France, it will be met. A draft law is going to be presented this evening to Parliament to allow an extension of the state of emergency, a 3-month extension. This text will also clarify these exceptional procedures. Yes, it's true that the state of emergency does justify certain temporary restrictions on freedoms. But we must do this to have all of the possibilities to restore, to fully restore our freedoms.
Et des assignations à résidence prononcées, ces mesures poursuivent des objectifs clairs.
House arrests will also be issued. Administrative detentions will be allowed to pursue the objectives, to identify accomplices, to dismantle terrorist networks, to isolate the radicalized individuals, and stop all of the trafficking that provides the funding and resources for them to commit their terrible crimes. That is why we need the state of emergency. But beyond that, this war started several years ago, and it is going to take more time to complete our actions, so we must also be patient. Patient and firm. I have therefore taken the necessary decisions to give the country the resources to lead this battle with respect for our laws and international treaties.
Administrative et judiciaire a été considérablement renforcée depuis 2012.
Our judicial framework has been strengthened since 2012 with anti-terrorist laws, surveillance laws.
Que nous fournit l'activité quotidienne des services et faciliter le travail.
And we're also mobilizing our security forces every day. We must facilitate the work of our judicial branch, improve the efficiency of our police forces, and create new tools so that no risk situations go undetected.
Réflexion. Proposer une révision de la Constitution. On ne change pas un texte.
And I would also ask that we consider changes to the Constitution.
Et des justifications. Nous devons.
But there would obviously have to be real reason to do so. So we must reflect on this carefully. But we need a robust legal framework to respond to such exceptional situations which are separate from the state of emergency and go beyond Article 16 of the law. We must study all proposals and possibilities because, as we stand here united,
même si je sais que certaines sont contraires à nos conventions internationales et à nos engagements européens.
Though I know that some measures may be contrary to some of our international agreements, so I've asked that the Council of State review our proposals so that we may take action. The government is working very closely with the Parliament, and I will ensure that that is continued. And I've also decided to increase hiring for the security forces, judicial forces and customs police. 8,000 new jobs are to be created here.
Cela veut dire concrètement
and there will be
davantage de policiers, de gendarmes
no
déployés
cutbacks
dans les
in the
côtes
army.
de France avec des personnels mieux équipés et mieux armés.
So this means a larger police force, a
Il y aura
better
aussi
professionalized
sûrement,
police force with better
et le
equipment.
président Barouin
There will also
m'en
most
a fait la
certainly be,
proposition, à réfléchir sur ce que
and
nous
as
pouvons faire
President
avec les
Barouin has made
collectivités
this
locales
proposal,
pour assurer la
we
vigilance.
need to consider what we may be doing with the local authorities to
Vous
ensure
le savez, des
vigilance.
engagements européens et qui entend
The state has European commitments as well,
doit également pouvoir assurer.
and we will respect all of these commitments
Dans cette
while ensuring our safety.
perspective qui va être longue, je veux que toute la puissance de l'État soit mise au service.
So as we look to the years ahead,
Mais je sais également,
I want all of our forces to be devoted to the safety of our citizens.
et sur
I know I
celui
can also
des
count on your support
3900 polices municipales de France.
and that of the 3,900 municipal police of France.
Complémentaire
I would like to
de celui
thank
de la
them
police nationale et de la
for their
gendarmerie.
role
Je sais
alongside
qu'elles
our
sont
national
exposées
police.
également au risque. Je
I
n'oublie
know
pas
they're also exposed to
la
risk.
mort de Clarissa Jean-Philippe, cette jeune policière municipale, lâchement abattue à Montrouge le 8 janvier dernier.
A young municipal policewoman was killed last January the 8th in Montrouge during the Charlie Hebdo attacks.
Mais également
The government intends to help you
municipaux,
to better protect our
en finançant
citizens
leur équipement,
and to better protect the municipal police performing their duties, providing more equipment
sur les stocks de la police nationale. Les contrats locaux
and weapons as needed
seront
can
également
be allocated
renforcés
from our
de
national
moyens
police.
supplémentaires pour que nous puissions
So we'll be
agir
reinforcing
dans le même
our
esprit
different
et avec
services
J'attache une grande
to
importance
better respond
à la
quickly and firmly
participation
to any
des maires
threat.
de France
It's very important
aux
to me
actions que nous allons
that the mayors of
entreprendre,
France participate in this
notamment
effort,
dans le cadre de l'état d'urgence. Je pense par exemple
and all of the
à
actions,
l'interdiction de circulation des personnes.
and in all of the actions that we'll be leading during this state of emergency.
Seuls les maires peuvent nous donner.
In particular, the prevention
Je pense également à la protection des bâtiments publics.
vehicle movements in certain sensitive areas, the protection of public buildings, and also
Là encore,
private buildings which could be considered targets.
de votre concours.
Here again, we
Dans
need
cet
your
esprit
support
que
to
le
do
ministre de
that.
l'Intérieur a demandé au préfet d'organiser
And so the
dans tous les
Minister of the
départements
Interior
des réunions
has asked
avec
the
les maires
prefectures
afin de les informer
to
de
organize
façon
meetings with the
précise
mayors
de la menace
to
terroriste,
inform them precisely about the state of the threat, the presence of potentially dangerous people in their municipalities,
Je sais aussi que les maires
and the safety measures that will be taken. I also know that the mayors
également
and their
impliqués
teams
dans les
in many
dispositifs
cities
mis en place dans les zones de sécurité prioritaires.
are already
Eh bien, là
participating
encore, nous pourrons agir
certain measures in certain priority zones. Here again,
encore
we must
davantage
act together
contre les trafics dans certains quartiers avec des moyens appropriés.
to fight the
Vous êtes
trafficking
également partie
of
prenante
logistics
des cellules
supporting
de suivi
these
et de
terrorists.
prévention de la radicalisation qui ont été créées par l'État.
We're also monitoring the radicalization of certain individuals. We've created crisis units for this.
La pertinence,
And unfortunately, we see that these units are very much needed
mais surtout pour le pays où ils ont
so that young French people do not become a danger to themselves and in particular to their communities and others in France.
Messieurs les maires, vous battez pour que nos
Every day,
différences
ladies and gentlemen,
ne deviennent
you
pas des divergences
are working so that our differences do not become
par la terreur.
divergences,
Daesh,
that we are not separated by our differences.
par ses propres tueries, le poison
Islamic State, through its killings, is
de la
trying
suspicion,
to inject
de la stigmatisation,
suspicion,
de la
a
division,
poison and stigmatization and
ne cédons
division
pas
amongst our
aux
people.
tentations de repli.
We must not give in to this.
Ne
We must not give in to the temptation to close ourselves in.
à la peur, aux excès
We must not give in
et
to
à la
fear,
surenchère. Notre
and we
cohésion
must not give
sociale
in,
est la meilleure réponse.
I beg your pardon, we must not exaggerate our differences either. Our cohesion
Nous
is the
devons
best
être
response.
implacables contre toutes les formes de haine
We must be absolutely unified against all forms of hate. We must refuse all anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, anti-foreigner tendencies. We must combat them everywhere. We must monitor certain associations or other groups, and a draft law being presented to the Council of Ministers will allow us to act against them. We will dissolve those associations immediately. I also call on your vigilance. You know better than anyone your territory, your people.
Vous avez exprimé, Monsieur le Président, une position de principe.
Mr. President, you expressed a position of principle, an honourable position.
Certains ont voulu établir un lien entre l'afflux de réfugiés venus du
You spoke of the refugees. Some would like to make a tie between this flow of migrants and the terrorists. The link exists in the sense that these refugees are fleeing the attacks of these terrorists. They're being attacked in their own homes. The vast majority of these refugees are going to Northern Europe, Germany, the United Kingdom. France, exercising its sovereign powers, has decided to share in solidarity towards these refugees, and we will be accepting 30,000 of them in the coming years. I want this policy conducted in close cooperation with the mayors. The Minister of the Interior has met with all of those who've come forward. That was last September. And there were many of you who volunteered to take refugees. I'd like to express my great gratitude to representatives from the town of Calais who are here today. The government supports you and intends to put measures in place, particularly for housing. Our duty towards these people goes hand in hand with our duty to the French people. I can understand certain concerns and worry caused by these recent attacks, but here again, France must respond in a united manner, and internationally with Turkey and Jordan and Lebanon. We must also ensure that before potential terrorists enter Europe, and then France, that there are no risks to our country. We will therefore be leading verifications before any refugees are accepted on our territory. We've been doing this already, and we will continue to do this. Reforms on the right to asylum will allow us to withdraw that right to asylum if the person is deemed to represent a threat. And in this way, we can ensure reinforced controls at our borders while preserving and respecting our values. Ladies and gentlemen, mayors of France, I know your work. I know what you do every day for your citizen towns, for your citizens, for their well-being and for their safety. I know your concept and understanding of the Republic means that you feel you are part of the Republic, you want your citizens to share in these Republican values. I know that. And I know that you're dedicated to secularism as well. The Republic is where everyone is allowed to believe or not believe. The Republic is a place where everyone is allowed to peacefully practice their religion. Secularism is a rule of law which applies to schools, public services, and protects the private space as well. Secularism protects the place of everyone and allows no threats to that secularism. So these are our ideals, beyond our differences. This means that we are all French and proud to be French. The terrorists take the lives of innocent people. They also want us to put our lives on hold. They want us to suspend our lives. But I tell them, France will remain a country of freedoms, of action, of culture, an active and dynamic country, which will never give in to fear. Life must continue, fully continue. What would our country be without its outdoor cafes, without its concerts, without its sports events and museums? What would our cities be without all of our different activities? What would our villages be without the fraternity of the people who live there? The world has once again borne witness. Their support to us and their major monuments around the world bore the colors of the French flag. They look to France because France represents freedom, has more freedom than many other countries, so France must continue to be itself. Our duty is to continue our lives so that our businesses can carry on working, so that our cultural institutions can be open to everyone, so that tourists can come, so that the people of France can travel freely and conduct their lives in confidence and being confident in their country. Our duty is to ensure their safety and their freedom, to protect them and to continue living. And I know I can count on your commitment. Out of the 500,000 elected local officials of the bodies you represent, and I know that I can count on all of the forces of the nation, so that in this war, yes, this war, we will prevail. Long live the Republic, long live France. We've been told that the gathering will now sing the French national anthem, La Marseillaise. But for the moment, Hollande is enjoying some rare applause.